Right. Good afternoon, everyone. It's our monthly segment of our Mayan, our moon, and our cycle of ceremonies sessions that we do on a monthly basis. It's nice to see everyone who is going to join us and everyone who will see us from wherever they are whenever they see us. So this month is really exciting because it's our seed planting. So it's like getting ready to get in the gardens, and to get all of our energy, getting ready for creation. And when we think of creation, we think of new life, and that's what plants do. They're kind of that I don't know. It signals the beginning of something fun. What are we going to create today? All the love and care that we put into our creations. It pays off during our harvest time. So this cycle of ceremonies has to do with that. So we're just waiting for Miss Renee to join us at some point, and maybe she will, and she'll be talking about, the moon cycles, what moon cycle we're in, and of course, our lovely, beautiful, and talented Miss Marcia, she'll be talking about the Mayan calendar and how things fit according to what phase we're in. So it's going to be an exciting time. So let's give way. So usually when we start, we always like to give thanks, and so in our Haudenosaunee way, it's called the Thanksgiving address. But I kind of like giving thanks because it sounds more appropriate for what we're doing. Sometimes Thanksgiving might remind you of turkey. And well, we think that we have a much deeper meaning to what giving thanks. So when we look at our food plants, we know that they're our sustenance. We know that it's important that we have that relationship with them. McDonald's just doesn't cut it, and Wendy's just doesn't cut it. We have no relationship to those foods that we put into our body. So it's time that we think of, the deeper meaning behind the plants and the plant foods. So, you know, we as human beings have to adapt to our way of life. 500 years ago, we lived off the land. We didn't have grocery stores, and so the planting was a lot different than it is today. We had to plant, we had to work, we had to nourish, we had to harvest, and we had to can, and it was all that really beautiful energy that we put into um, our work that made us strong. So if you look back over time, our ancestors, they were very strong. Their mind was very strong. And when we think of their strength, I mean, they were so used to the outdoors, and so they were physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually happy. So what we have to also think about is, how we transition. So as people, we have learned to transition from uh, whatever it is we're faced with. So when I came into existence, when all of us here came into existence, we weren't living that way of life anymore. So we have to take that really deep meaning of planting, and we have to put it into today's context. So if you think about it, even now there are people who I guess are still living that way. You find them in the jungles, you find them in places that we don't get to visit because they're so adamant that they're going to remain living that way, that they don't let strangers in. And so they're managing to still survive off the land and live off the land. But whereas it was common a long time ago, it's not common now. But I also think about the what was happening in Europe. You know, Europe was being colonized. Well, we were still living that life too, and so now we're adapting to what it is that we have today. If you look at food, food has power, and when we plant those seeds, there's a protocol to that. What we do is we sing our songs, we we do the planting, and then we nurture our fields. We take care, and as we're doing so, we're putting that love and that energy. We're putting our blood, sweat, and tears into the food, and that's how we can become stronger. And I think that we really have to look at how can we bring that back. How can we bring that that strength back into our minds. And it's sad to see all the mental health issues that are affecting our cities and our towns and our communities. Mental health is becoming a big issue, and it's getting worse and worse instead of better and better. And as we think about that, in my mind, I'm always thinking, what can we do? What is the answer? How can we get back to having that good mind again? And then one of those ways would be to start planting our own gardens. Planting, if you really look at the dynamics behind planting, it's a plan. So you know that, okay, as an example, today we have the dogwood blooming. And when you see the dogwood flowering, you know that, okay, that's time to get our tobacco ready. So the next thing we look for is our mayapple, because as soon as we see our mayapple coming up, then we know that it's time to take those seeds and it's time to soak those seeds with that mayapple and give us some really strong and vibrant tobacco plants. So that's the sign, look for that dogwood blooming. We have it now. And so now we think about that tobacco and the power of what that tobacco is, and how it works within our life. I think of the time a few years ago when I went down to visit my cousin Marcia in Illinois, and she had done an experiment with seeds that she had received when she was in Peru, really, really old seeds. And in one plant, she planted those, and the other planter, she planted our seeds, and they were both the same. Boy, they were beautiful. We did a very beautiful experiment, with that, and so thankfully we still have the ability to um, take that experience and to understand that sometimes a seed will grow and sometimes it has to wait, in this case for a lot of years, in order for it to nurture and for it to come to life. But like everything, the timing is correct. So we come here in divine time as we look from the spirit world and we decide to make our entry. That's divine timing. And so we're considered a seed. We are a seed that is planted, a seed that is nurtured, and a seed that grows. And just as any seed, if you really are a gardener, then you know that some seeds have to have a certain amount of cold days in order for them to be able to uh, mature or to be planted. And some seeds, they need to be burned. I mean, there's just so many different things about life that from nature that teach us how to be a really good human being. So we still have, I guess, we still have the ability to relate to those things, but we don't really sometimes take in the importance of making sure that we continue and we start, even if we haven't planted a garden ever before. It's important that we think about the impact of creating our better health. And so when I'm talking about, I could have read, just a little passage that we say in our Thanksgiving address and when we talk about the seeds and now our minds are one. But we have to go deeper than that because we really have to think about what we're saying. Because when you think of a seed and you think of a plant and you think of the blossoms and you think of the harvest, wow, that there's a whole story there. And that's our story too. So in our longhouses, oh, by the way, my name is Gail Whitlow. I'm from Six Nations of the Grand River Territory. I'm a Mohawk Nation, and my clan is Shaking the Rattle Bear Clan. And because I'm from these nations, I also have, I guess, a way to look at our ceremonies that we do. I'm able to pull from the emotion and the impact that going to seed ceremonies has, and it's very powerful. So when our seeds are taken to ceremony, yeah, they're blessed, and then there could be trades that are made. I have some tobacco. What do you have? And you trade, and then it comes to the planting time, and that's the best time because um, we also have to look at the way that we're changing. If you really look at the cycles right now, the earth is really doing some major changes. Some things that used to grow aren't growing right now because our climate is changing. We didn't even have much snow here, as an example, this year, and it was a totally different year than even last year. So each year we see a lot of changes that are affecting um, our our livelihood. And all you have to do is look in those grocery stores, and you look in those grocery stores and you see empty shelves, product that you used to be able to get. Sometimes you're not finding that product on the shelves anymore. And when we're looking at food security, every day we have to really think about what would happen if those stories of all of those natural disasters around the world. I often think of, how are those people surviving? They have no food, they have no water, they have no homes. How are they surviving? You hear about the tsunami, or you hear about the volcano or the earthquake, but you don't hear about how people are surviving as a community. And so those are discussions that we have to have. So, also, when we're talking about seeds, I think back to my children when they were in school, because my children went to a Mohawk immersion school, and one of their teachers was Ima Johnson. What a beautiful soul she was. My children were so happy, to be in her class because she gave so much to the students. And one of the things she did was she taught them how to plant the garden, and she showed them the difference between a well-kept garden and a garden that wasn't well kept. So she planted one garden, or she had the students plant a garden, and they sang songs and they spent love and they looked cared for it. And the other garden was planted with no songs, and it wasn't tended to. And boy, what a difference in the gardens. The ones that they took care of were just beautiful gardens, and the other one just went to weeds. And some of those medicines didn't even get a chance to, come to life, or they didn't even get to flower. And so, if ever you need it, an example of love and caring and attention, that was something that she taught my children, and I'll ever forever be grateful for everything that she shared with them. So we have to look, how are we planting our gardens? Our gardens, we can be represented through our children, through our family, through our community. How are we treating others, especially from around the world? And also, we have to also consider that plants and us and the water and the air and the earth all have an energy. So what we're doing is we're building a beautiful concentration of all of that energy, and we're trying to create something that is going to be sustainable for our next 7 generations. So the next time you're planting that garden, think of it as planting that for your upcoming children and grandchildren and great children and grandchildren and relatives. And because that's really what we're doing. How are we treating our relatives around the world? Are we really giving forth everything that we can, that respect, that love, that caring, that sharing, that we need in order to create the humankind, um, in the same way as we would treat our gardens. So we look at the way that our plants blossom, and then we look at the sustenance that comes from that. And again, how beautiful that is, that we have that opportunity to be part of that whole process. So I think that's one of the things that we really have to look after, is or think about, is all of that nurturing and caring and love that we're putting into not only ourselves but into our gardens, into our world, so that we can have a better place for all of that, all of them to um, start to create a better environment for us all. I'd like to. I'd also like to plant the thought of uh, what is the next step? You know, what is the next step? We start to look at our mental health through our gardens and through our songs, and what is the next step from that? You know, the next step comes when we start to share. You know, we used to have a way of bartering, and different gardens would plant different people would plant different things, and that would be this exchange. I had been in Costa Rica, and we had went to visit the Bribri community in Costa Rica. And to get there, we had to paddle, or they paddled us through. It was low river at the time, but as we were paddling, it took me back. It was one of the most spiritual um, journeys, because the way they handled those canoes, and we were in them, and the way that they were able to go through those rapids, and the way that they handled that canoe, it was like we were centuries and centuries ago. And what I really liked about the community too was that that's what they did. They lived in an environment where they were actually on the border of, I believe it was Colombia, Colombia, and they different people would plant different things, and then when visitors would come, or whatever, when they needed to trade, then they were able to trade. So everybody didn't have to plant everything, but they were able to, like, what are you planting, and so all of that kind of stuff. So they were able to concentrate on growing what they grew, and they put a lot of love, because that food that they shared with us was dynamic. It was so full of life. You could just taste the difference between Kentucky Fried Chicken and the chicken that they prepared there fresh for us. So, yeah, so I'll kind of leave that with you, so that we can listen to a little bit about the experiences of where we are in the Mayan calendar. So, Marcia?
Now I'll go, Gail.
Yeah.
So my name is Marcia Forrest. I was also born and raised on the Six Nations Reservation, Grand River Territory, Mohawk and Bear Clan. And I live out on the West Coast in British Columbia now. Um, and so I really like the way Gail opened it up and really talked about, the importance of, well, Thanksgiving, but really just that sense of gratitude each and every day for all the gifts that we are given, that we're blessed with each and every day, that I think that we often take for granted. And it's all about the relationship that you build with, like the water you drink, the water you bathe with, the food you eat, the people that you connect with, whether it's your family or friends or other people in your community. And the whole thing around that balance of, treating others as you would like to be treated. If everybody did that, boy, this world would be a different place. And we are the ones who are constantly energetically creating this reality that we live in. So really think about, yeah, the thoughts that you're thinking, the thoughts that end up becoming your words, the words that you're speaking, and the actions that you take, both for yourself and for others. So this Mayan calendar class, some of you may not be that familiar with it, but I'll just tell you a little bit about it again for those of you who may be new to it. And the Mayan calendar, it's called the Cholkich, and it is a calendar that is thousands of years old, and it just keeps on rotating. It's a calendar that is 260 days long, and that those days are based on both galactic, spiritual, and cosmic vibrations. And it all is within creating that balance with the 13 vibrations that exist. So that's why the calendar is 260 days long, because we have 20 day lords and we have 13 vibrations. And in math, that equals 260. So that's one full cycle of the calendar. So, what's amazing about it is that the Maya have kept the sacred knowledge of this great cycle and calendar for many generations, and it has to do with time and space. And the sharing of this sacred knowledge will help bring ourselves back into balance with our Mother Earth and all our relations. So, just like Gail mentioned, there's many societies yet, many tribal peoples who still go through cycles of ceremony for blessing their seeds before they're planted. And the prayer is for that better harvest to come. And we've all just gone through a very amazing event that happened on April the 8th with that total solar eclipse. And I've been told by both astrologers and some elders that this time of transformation is a time that doesn't just happen around the actual day of the eclipse, but that the the opening, I guess, for the energies to be higher creates that doorway so that we can all look deeper within ourselves and that we can reassess our paths and make changes. It can lead to a lot of rapid change and unexpected, transformations for us. So I was told that this cycle of energy actually will continue on for a year from the date of the eclipse. So we're in this very major time of transformation. So if you were ever in a position to want to be thinking about reassessing things for yourself, now's the time, because you're really being guided by the energies now and supported by the energies to make those positive changes for your own health, your own well-being. So we'll get into the cycle of time that we're in right now. And this cycle that we're in started on Saturday, April the 13th. So just last week. And this cycle, it covers the day lords from 1 Bats to 13 Akabal. So it goes from April the 13th to April the 25th. So all of these day lord signs have energies attached to them. They have symbols, they have guidance. And that's really to help us to determine how to work with those energies and to go into the flow of it. Hi, Renee, I see you. Welcome. Um, so on Saturday, the 13th, 1 Bots, it's part of the story of the Maya story of ancient civilizations and teachings so that we can understand the empowerment of what we are creating. So 1 Bots is all about one strand. It's about tying up loose ends. It's about completion. And we think about it as it's a week to start weaving a new thread. And we will have to choose what we want to weave, much like Gail was talking about sowing the seeds, what it is you want to grow. It's the same thing where we're weaving, it's like you're weaving a garment. And what is that going to look like? What kind of energy are you going to put into it? So that on its full expression on April the 25th, it can be crystallized into that greatest beauty. And so the initiation of this weaving that we're creating takes us to Friday, April 19th, which is today. And the sign is 7 Noch. So 7 is a balance point in between this 13-day week. It's right in the middle. So on this day, it's a place for us to start to think about the wisdom, our connection to the earth. What does that look like? Do we have a relationship to the earth? Do we go out there and stand on Mother Earth every day and give her thanks? And also, what is our journey through this world? What does that look like? What's our sense of that is supposed to be for us? Sort of what is your mission here? So on Saturday, tomorrow is 8 Tahash. And on that day, we can either communicate what we understand, or we will misinterpret or miscommunicate, because Tahash is all about how we express ourselves, whether that is with words, whether it's with our actions. And so, as we see many people fall into this pattern of gossip, they may create lies about their intention to weave a new way when the fears have already entered and are being fed. And so, on the positive aspect of this, once we understand what is happening and what our journey is, we can use the completion of our communication skills to go into the next day, which is Sunday, 9 Kuwuk. And here that's all about birthing our purification. So you can go through a purification process on this day, and Kuwuk is all about the water. And it's also about like the rain and the thunder beams. So it could be your shower, it could be bathing, it could be swimming in a lake or in the ocean, but really using that water to purify. And even the water you drink, you know, you can express that gratitude to that water. And as you drink it, to really ask for it to do its greatest good for you, to help keep you well and healthy. Then on Monday, April the 22nd is 10 Akpu. And this is the day that the Lords of the Light become self-aware, and we can then become aware of the light within us and really receive it, accept it, and love it for what it is. And really accepting that that's what we are and that we deserve it, and not have any doubts or any fear about that. Then on Tuesday, April the 23rd, is 11 Imush, and that's also the day of the full moon. So it's a powerful day to access our own creativity and to let go of any limiting thoughts that we might have. Imush is the place between the sky and the waters, they say, where the crocodile swims, but also where the water lilies bloom. And so these full moon energies can really be used to help activate the waters of our own creativity, so we can actually transform from one state of being to another. Then Thursday, April the 25th, is 13 Akabal. So this is the ultimate manifestation of this process we've been going through to get us to the place of understanding the great mystery. So this whole 13 cycle followed the previous one, which ended on 13Z. And that was about communities and family, and just really prospering that to its greatest potential of cooperation and working together. So if 13Z was left in a place of being problematic, then you would enter this phase and come to 13 Akabal, more like the dark ages, where fears end up taking over, whether it comes from a place of religious beliefs or comes from our social systems, whether it comes from what's going on in the economy or just general confusion. But if we're weaving from that positive place of 13Z, then we're looking at the collective consciousness that the clans and families are being restructured for the better, that they're starting a weaving with that new strand that takes us into a new destiny, so that we understand through the knowledge that we are spiritual beings having a physical experience here at this time. And so that completes that 13-day week. And so we'll go through the next cycle as well, which will start on Friday, April the 26th, and will take us through to May the 8th. And this cycle is a cycle that starts with one kat and goes over 13 days to 13 akmak. So this is important because it's the beginning of the connection to the web of life. So this journey here will take us to what becomes our inheritance. And it's the inheritance, which means it's the bundle that we're going to be gifting to the next generation on that 13th day, on May the 8th. So, bundle meaning, the wisdom, knowledge that's been passed down over time. So, it's a time where it's already been decided what is the tradition that we want to give to the seventh generation, because we've all gone through many experiences in our life. And so now we have an opportunity of this initiation and walking through life. And so it's how our own connection is to the web of life. The mid 13-day week point will be on Thursday, May the 2nd, which is 7Z. So again, that's that balance place. It's that middle number in that 13-day week. And Z, again, it's all about that family, that connection between the family and cooperation, whether it's communities or actual blood families. But I like to think of it also into the greater aspect of, the people all around the world. So on 7Z, and I've been a part of many ceremonial cycles. This is a very important ceremonial cycle week for the Maya. And I know I've been through ceremony on these days too with Gail, but on 7Z, it's the day that the Maya have a gathering of the people. And it's a day to honor the women. So that's on Thursday, May the 2nd. And ceremonies are led by the women on that day because it deals with the law that governs the community and the family, and how we honor our relationship to this web of life. Again, that's how this 13-day week started on April 26th. So the keepers of the original instructions are activated. We make offerings, and the women are leading the ceremonies because they are the ones who are weaving the web in the womb to create life, that new life that comes. And so the ceremonies that I have been a part of on these days in Guatemala, what would happen is the women would be leading the ceremonies and the prayer around the sacred fire, and surrounding them would be the circle of men. So it's like they were making sure that the women were held in a safe container to conduct their ceremonies, and that and the feeling I got in that situation was just overwhelming support and love, and it just really helped us to be able to go deep into our prayer, deep into our ceremony, and to really say those prayers of essence that were coming deep, deep from the heart and spirit to help to change things in this world, to help to create a better world. Also on this day is the new moon on May the 2nd. So it's a powerful time to set intentions and actions of calling the council or the gathering to clear and release anything that's not desired to bring into that new cycle beginning the next day. Because on that day, again, it would be releasing anything that you don't want to bring forward, because at midnight, and then you go into Friday, May the 3rd, it's 8 Bats. And 8 Bats is one of the biggest celebrations in the world of the Maya. Some call it the Mayan New Year. And again, it's all about, this is a day of completion, and Bats is all about tying up the loose ends. So it's like New Year's Eve for us, but it's much more than that. It's not just not a end of the calendar year kind of a day. It also shows how the matrix is going through an evolutionary process. So all the relationships, all the original instructions go through an evolutionary process. And millions of Maya do ceremonies to celebrate this day. Once complete, the 8 strands on this day, or the 8 umbilical cords, they sometimes call it, that began to unwind on one cut 8 days before, they are now completes the bundle, and it is blessed over the ceremonies. And then on Saturday, May 4th, is the day of 9E. Now that day is all about a birthing into that new pathway. It's like New Year's Day. It's like things start anew, and so you're going through and starting another 260-day cycle. But on this day, a new destiny is activated. So now we can take that bundle and we can start on the journey again. And it's a great day for the Maya to go visiting sacred sites, because as they go to those sacred sites, they go there to honor the wisdom, they honor the visions, and they honor the sites that were named and shown to them by the ancestors, because many ceremonies have taken place there, and they're powerful places to go and visit to honor the ancestors. And then on Wednesday, May the 8th, is 13 Akmak, coming to the completion of that 13-day week. So now the traditional ways continue as we prepare to give the bundle to the next generation, because Akmak is, again, that total manifestation of that, what is being carried to pass on to the next generation. And here is where the ancestors and the children really come into great importance. And this is a great day to remember both of those things, that the ancestors continue to live on through the children and what is passed on to them to carry forward into life, and to then teach their families, as they become parents too. So that's those two cycles of the Mayan calendar for this time. And yes, I hope they help to maybe spur a little bit of interest. Maybe on May 2nd, you'll find a way to honor women, honor yourself, honor the women in your life, and all those who gave birth to you all the way down the ancestral line, and to those who are coming, because again, it is the women who are the keepers of the hearth. They're really the heart of the family. And it's a really amazing thing to be in presence and to remember and honor that, so that we can support one another as we all carry forward to make this world a better place. So, Nyawagoa for listening, and I'll now pass the feather to Renee. Oh, all right. Okay, I think we lost them for a moment, so we'll just wait for them to jump back up on the call. Um, So yes, grandmother Renee, when she comes back on, is going to share with us about this actual moon cycle period, and what it has to show us and to teach us. And as we continue to think about this time, again, I don't know how things are growing in your neck of the woods, but here it's just like every day things are sprouting up more and more. Um, and Gail talked about the plants, and I just had the experience of being back in the woodland forest for a period of time the last couple of weeks, and the amazing show of color with the woodland flowers was just stunning. It was just like carpets of blooms as far as you could see. Many different colors, many different species blooming all at once, and it's just amazing to see things like the bluebells, the phlox, the jack in the pulpit, Dutchman's breeches, trilliums, three different colors of trilliums, irises, violets. We saw some wild ginger, all kinds of things. It was just like the forest was coming to life. And where I was in southern Illinois, also the May apple were already coming up. And and some of them were already flowering. So I think that was all kind of early. Everything was early this year, is something that people keep saying things are earlier and earlier. And I guess that's probably due to global warming. And the other thing I really noticed coming back here to the West Coast is that the mountaintops have very little snow on the top. So, and I'm not sure why that is, but well, aside from again global warming, but I think that even the city of Vancouver is a little concerned for what's going to be happening with their water systems, and they certainly weren't able to open the ski hills as long as they usually do because of the snow that had all melted. So, um, and that's just, oh, and so here we are. And now again, I will hand over the feather to Renee.
Thank you. That's how powerful your words are. I love it. And rebirthing. So we had to reboot the computer.
Right.
And also, isn't it April Fool?
Maybe it lasts longer than one day, too.
Yeah, yeah. I like to bring in laughter too, because that's what it's the transformation of where we are. And April is always to bring to your mind rain, water. And I loved how you mentioned the water. And this water is the birthing. So springtime, April is a birthing. To me, it's the birthing time. It's really signifies that we all have to get ready for change. We all have to get ready for that new life that we're going to have. And that's what the fish remind us of too, because it's also called of the fish. And the fish also it's very similar to helping us understand our roles in our lives. And the fish comes very much alive, and that fish oil is very important for our wellness and our well-being. It's to bring change to us. And so when that fish is cleaning the rivers, the fish also talks about cleaning our waters. How many of us have cleaned our waters? It's so important. Your language is your water. Your thoughts are water. Your actions are water. And so we must be very mindful at this time. Yes, we're going to be complaining because it seems to be raining all the time. But you never notice when it's raining, those birds are still singing. They're acknowledging this birthing that is happening all around them. And they are all excited because when they see the water, they know that there's going to be food. And that's how we should look at it. Look at when we see water, it's a birthing of a new life, not only our lives, but the lives of all creation. And so sometimes it's called the pink moon, it's called the um, sucker moon, it has many names, and that's why it's always speaking about that that time to get ready, that time to make change, that time to be prepared. But most of all, I love it because it brings in that mud. What is the mud? The mud is a detoxifying action. When we play in mud, when we play in the puddles and in the spring, it also removes all that stagnant water that we had during the winter. This is a time when the waters, more and more children are drawn to the waters, and it has a power that they're linked to and they don't understand, and they have to be very careful because at this time a lot of children may as they say have um, an accident. So we must be very careful of that water, but also that water signifies what are you doing to your thoughts, what are you doing that is getting ready. Just like the tree, they have thoughts, all the plants have thoughts. What thoughts are we planting in our life? What seeds are we planting for the future? This is a time when you make that. I'm so grateful for Marcia giving us the outline of what each day is going to help us. And so making change is a very positive and powerful way of nature showing us. Also, the winds come, and that is a cleansing month. It is very powerful cleansing month. And what better was the eclipse happening, the power of these two, the nighttime sun and the daytime sun. And so these two came, and there again, the nighttime sun represents the water. The daytime sun represents the fire. And so at this time, we are to remove all that stagnant. That means our mind, like being stagnant, is like worrying, having get stuck in some place of doom, of sadness, and a lot of grief. This is a time when that new water comes. It's a birthing of new beginning, new life, and I look forward to when I hear the thunders come. What a powerful message, because the grandfathers are saying, I'm going to take care of you. And that's why when we hear the first thunder, we're to go outside and offer up our tobacco for that thunder, because the fish have told us that the trees have told them it's time to get ready. So the fish makes that movement, and it does its work to clean the rivers so that we can be, as they say, receivers of good medicine. So looking at it, we how many of us use our water? How many of us clean ourselves? Water was given to us to help us to let go, and that's what spring will do. It has those times of big floods, and it comes to take down all those things that has caused that maybe can cause damage, like the old trees. And that's the saddest part, is when you go along, just like when I got here, I came along the river and I saw a lot of these trees, like, they're warriors. These trees along the river are warriors. They protect us, they look after us, but people don't understand it. And so they cut down the trees, and therefore they take away their homes, they take away their security. But the trees were to represent that. And that's why the tree wakes up first. And then the river brings forth that water, the sweet water, the message of sweet water. And so, what are we doing to enhance our sweet water? That's your language. Are you being kind? Are you being generous? Because we need these words in order to plant the seeds. We need to sing our songs, just like the birds, they sing their songs. So when the water starts to flow, it's us. What are you doing to make your water flow? Are you up dancing? Are you up moving? Or are you just sitting? So we need to keep our waters flowing smoothly. And so this is a time I see that a lot of people have now, since this awakening, they're out there walking. And that's the most beautiful thing, is that they're moving their water. They're moving their water, because that's to ensure life. That's what it's all about. That's what the fish are telling us. This is the time when the frogs start singing. Now I'm going to leave you a question. What's the difference between a frog and a toad? We were sitting down the river the other day. We were cleaning up at my brother's place, and we finally finished all our work, and we were sitting there. And my great grandchildren, and he says, because they know I'm going to ask a question. So I asked him, I said, so what's the difference between a frog and a toad? So I'm going to leave that to you to find out for the next time we get together, because they also talk about this change too. So I'm looking forward to hearing what you have to say for the month of May, because every month, every moon talks about a lesson, talks about a new way of opening up and a new way of taking in things. And so I'm very grateful for this time that we get together to hear what nature's talking about, what nature. We have become the translators for the trees and for the plants, and especially our grandmother, the moon. She's always talking to us. And so now we need to pick up our ears, sada hunsada, to pick up our ears and listen to what nature's talking about. And while you were talking, even the birds came to the window here just to see what you were talking about. And so they fly all over, so they heard your message and they're gone to carry it on. So I always find that very comforting whenever someone that has the knowledge and sharing the knowledge, nature always seems to be in the background listening to see if we're sharing or if we forgot anything. So they kind of remind us what we need to know. And so with that, I'd like to say thank you for giving us this opportunity to be with you to learn more about the natural way of listening, the natural way of observing, the natural way of knowing in your heart what is unfolding. And so I say, Yawa, thank you.
Right on, right on. Whoops, I moved the camera too fast.
She just pushed me right out the scene.
Oh, the bird came back.
Yeah.
He said, "Hey, what was that again?" Oh my gosh, it's so nice to get together because we don't rehearse anything. This all just comes from, whatever we're supposed to speak at this time. So our next time together will be Friday, May the 10th, and we'll be in a different location next time, but yeah,
Oh, yeah.
but we'll still be on. We'll still be on, and we'll share whatever that's about, whatever that time's about when we get there. So I hope everyone has a really beautiful day, and a beautiful night, and a beautiful week, and a beautiful month. And I hope that there's love in your hearts, and that you think about what you're going to plant in your garden. For those of you who don't have garden space, they have such beautiful um, ways to plant indoors or on balconies and different things. Even if you just start with one something that's important. Today I just picked up another snake plant because there's just something about that's drawing me at this moment. So when I see them, I buy them because I know how valuable they are to cleaning the air. And so maybe that's why, because we have to clean the air, and we have to like be prepared for what is coming. So till we see you next time, Yawagoa, and we will talk again soon. Bye bye. Maybe.